Hi everyone, it's LaShonda from Labors of Love with another Therapy Thursday video. So today I would like to talk about honoring our boundaries. So usually when we talk about boundaries, we think of them from an external perspective, and it's usually to protect us or our property from being violated in some way. I would like to encourage us to extend our understanding of boundaries to realize that in addition to protecting us from others, our boundaries are in fact intended to help us to not offend other people. When we don't think about boundaries as a way of setting limits for ourselves and not just other people, then we're constantly thinking about boundary violations as what other people are doing to us. And we very infrequently think about how we sometimes violate boundaries when it comes to others. But more specifically today, I want to talk about why it's challenging for us to honor some of the boundaries that we set. So I believe that sometimes setting boundaries isn't the difficult part. It's actually following through with the boundaries that we set. So relationally, someone may offend you by saying something that you don't appreciate, and you may not address it at the time, but in your mind, you set a boundary and you say, you know what? I'm not going to let that person talk to me like that again, or I'm not going to put myself in this situation. But as time passes, the person does something again, and our response is often the same response that it was last time. It wasn't that we didn't set a boundary, we set the boundary, we just didn't enforce it. There may be times when someone has required something of you or requested something of you, and you did it, but in your mind, you set a boundary and you said, you know what, this is my last time. I'm not going to do this again, or I'm not going to allow that to happen again. And then time passes, you find yourself in a similar situation. The person requests the same or similar thing from you, and you do it. It's not that you didn't set the boundary, it's that you didn't honor the boundary that you set. Now, it's easier said than done because in the moment when we set the boundary, we're setting that boundary in moments often of being upset or anger. And it's like, I'm putting my foot down. But what happens over time is the impact of that moment starts to wear away. And when we're presented with it again, it's hard to honor the boundary because we start to think about, well, what if the person becomes upset? Or what if this makes me look like I'm not a good person? I want to remind us that the story we've made up in our mind about what would happen if we enforce our boundaries are often just that. They're stories we've made up. And I'm not trying to suggest that it's always easy, but honoring the boundaries that we set are the only way for us to build the muscle to continuously protect ourselves and protect others by setting limits. So my recommendation, if you have a difficult time setting boundaries, is to start small, low stakes. You don't have to start with the most influential people in your life, and you don't have to tackle one of the things that are some of the biggest you've been dealing with, but we can start. Whether it's starting at work or in your neighborhood with a neighbor or something, like I said, low stakes, where you've said in your mind, this is what I'm going to do or this is what I'm not going to do. And when the fear rises up, just remind yourself that likely you're playing out a story that you've made up. And the more you enforce the boundaries that you set, the easier that it becomes. If you have a difficult time setting boundaries in your life and you need someone to help you, Labors of Love would love to walk alongside you on that journey. Please reach out to us at www.thelaborsoflove.com. Until next week, be well.